Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my friends around the globe. You are listening to the Experiment Dodgers Fast Pitch Championship Edition. The LA Dodgers are your back-to-back World Baseball champions, Major League Baseball champions, the best league in the world. So when they say, well, Joe, it's only in America, and how can that be the world? Well, the best players play in Major League Baseball. Therefore, that's the best league. Therefore, the best players means world champs. And the Dodgers are just that. First time repeating since the Yankees of 1998, 1999, and they also three-peated in 2000. Almost got a four-peat, if not for Arizona in the bottom of the ninth in 01. And as far as how that will work out, hopefully in the next couple of years, that will depend on if there is a strike/lockout should the Dodgers three-peat first. But we'll talk about that hopefully in a few years. But I wanted to do a show after I got back from my trip. I was in Arizona all weekend, had the privilege of hanging out with some family, cousins and aunts and uncles, and enjoyed probably the most stressful two games of my entire life. And that says something, because I've had to watch Game 7 against the Celtics. I've had to watch Game 7 of the Portland series in 2000. I had to watch Game 7 on the road against Sacramento in the Western Conference Finals, which really technically that was really the finals that year because New Jersey had no shot, right? That's why they got swept. So after Game 3, I had taxed myself physically. Emotionally wasn't really the thing. It was actually my chest that was in pain. Like I actually was hurting. And then, of course, after they won Game 3, I said, okay, there was a little bit of healing there, but it wasn't really 100% yet. Games continued because they were playing in LA, so didn't get a lot of time to recover from that. So, of course, with that, they end up pretty much getting beat pretty handedly in Game 4, and then the stress of that while waiting for Game 5, and then realizing, man, if they lose Game 5, this is likely a series that's not going to end very well, right? So, and of course, that's exactly what happens. They basically get beat pretty good in Game 4 and Game 5. And at this point, I had resided that this team might have run out of gas because the team couldn't hit. And usually when you're tired, that's when you can't really focus enough, right? But in today's baseball, it's about slugging. And I'm going to get to this in the end for Game 7, but I wanted to throw that little tease in there. Slugging. Why is the term slugging used so much? Why is that term so popular now? I'm going to get to that. But what ended up happening in the end was something that even I, an avid baseball guy and someone who understands change and understands adapting to that change, I didn't understand. I wasn't rolling with it during this entire run because I wanted the safe route. I wanted, hey, look at how Toronto is making contact. Look how they're getting singles and doubles and all that. And then what happened in the end, right? And I'll get to that in a minute here. I want to go a little bit I wanted to go in depth a little bit more before I get to the end here in terms of Game 7 and how that ended. But we get to the end of Game 5, and at this point, everyone in the world, even Dodger fans, other than a few optimistic Dodger fans, props to Nick Molina, by the way, probably one of the few in our group. I thought Toronto was just more determined, beating the Dodgers at home in back-to-back games. I would have never predicted that. I felt the Dodgers were going to win at least 2 out of 3 in LA and then close it out in Game 6. And, of course, with Yamamoto on the mound, I felt pretty comfortable thinking about that. Now, I was really thinking that was going to get done in 5 because of how kind of things have played out during the playoffs, especially after Game 3. But didn't work out that way. But I was pretty comfortable, not all the way, pretty comfortable after Game 4's loss, saying, all right, just win. I kind of sort of thought this was going to happen. Let's win game 5, and then Yamamoto in game 6. I don't care if you guys are playing in Jupiter. Yamamoto's going to close the sucker out. So, of course, they lose game 5, and then you go into game 6 with Yamamoto. Now you're in that mode of, well, Yamamoto's going to have to save this team. And then a game 7 is always the same thing, right? Anything can happen, especially in baseball. So they go into game 6, and then they are nail-biting again. And then, of course, Yamamoto goes 6 strong. And then you get into that phase where – and by the way, game 6 was really bad for me at the beginning of the game. I didn't watch the first 6 innings. I was too scared, like in my heart. Scared in that I couldn't keep dealing with the it was absolutely destroying me. So I was following it on my score ticker, and I saw that the Dodgers were scoring and this and that, and then that Toronto scored a run. But at the end, it was, pretty low scoring game. What a surprise, right? But the Dodgers were, I got in right around the 7th inning, and then of course started watching some of those amazing plays to end that game. And of course, the most amazing one. There were 2 amazing plays actually. The one where the ball gets stuck under the padding, which created a ground rule double, and then of course, and that was 2nd and 3rd with no outs. And then Tyler Glasnow pitching 3, and Kike and Rojas having that unreal double play to close out game 6. And then of course the I don't want to forget about the 1-pitch pop out on the infield with Glasnow. I mean, it couldn't have gone. That whole setup could not have gone any better, other than maybe getting everyone out in 2 pitches. I mean, shoot, I was so excited after that. Still death, right? Still feeling like crap, but I was so excited that Glasnow, who was slated to start game 7, I said, man, he only pitched 3. He's not going to have to worry about starting. Won the game, and then, of course, Shohei on short rest gets tagged to pitch. Now, for those who didn't know, the reason why Roberts had to start Shohei is because he couldn't use him late in the game, because then he'd have to put him in a position. So instead of him being a DH and pitching at the beginning of the game, if he had used him late in the game, he'd have to make him a position player, which would be disastrous at this point, especially with how kind of weak our defense is in the outfield. Not enough consistency there. And I'm putting that lightly. Kike's good. He's not bad. He's not amazing, but he's decent. And then, of course, Pai is not being in the middle there, puts him at a disadvantage, because he's got the arm. And of course, we're going to get to game 7 in terms of him being able to gauge what ended up happening there at the end. Of course, Teo has been absolutely horrible. There was a Razzie for right field instead of a Gold Glove. I really think Teo Hernandez would have gotten it this year. So they start Shohei on short rest, and Shohei had never pitched on short rest. So my feeling was, if they could get 3 innings out of him, this is me thinking before the game, if they could get 3 innings from him, they could let Tyler go the remaining 6 or 5, and then I'll obviously have Roki in there, because that was my original thought. Well, things didn't play out anywhere close to that. So Shohei pitches the first 2 innings pretty scoreless, and then the 3rd inning gives up a 3-run bomb to Bo Bichette, and there was some, let's say, daggers thrown at Dave Roberts' head on this one. I couldn't blame Dave Roberts in a lot of these decisions throughout the series anyways, because he had no choice. The bullpen was just not working. And other than a few times here and there, obviously in game 3, but it was just too hard to depend on that, right? So he wanted to see if he could get another inning out of Shohei. In the end, it turned out to be a bad idea. But Bo Bichette hits a 3-run homer. And at this point, I'm thinking the game is over. I actually turned the TV off. and just kind of followed it on my score thing. And then as the game went on, I started seeing 3-1. Then I saw 3-2. Then I saw 4-2, and then saw 4-3 in the 8th, and then clicked back on to the game. And then, of course, we saw what I don't know if you can compare it to this in our like recent history, but as David Freese a hit, if not bigger than you could ever have. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, David Freese had a double with one more strike left against Texas in the World Series in 2011 when he was playing for St. Louis, and Nelson Cruz had a really bad gauge on the ball, and I thought he should have I thought he should have caught the ball, and ended up missing the ball, and they ended up scoring, and then Texas lost game 6 and then eventually lost game 7. So what happened to the Dodgers was the opposite. What could have probably happened to them didn't. And Miggy Rowe, I don't know what you would call him. Would you call him the heart, the soul, the identity, the fight, the El Capitan? I don't even know what word to use for Miguel Rojas, but Miguel absolutely put himself in Dodger legend, and it will never go away, ever. He hits a homer on a hanging slider with a 3-2 pitch. Hoffman has been known to throw a couple of dingers out there, and he did, and the score goes 4-4. At this point, I got excited. This is like the first time I'd been excited since Freddie Freeman's home run, because I really, really felt that deflated everyone in Toronto. Like that was the one play that all that talk with Toronto and all that talk with all the BS around Toronto. Oh, well, this team is resilient. This team can get through anything. They keep fighting, blah, blah, blah. I actually thought that was it. However, what ended up happening in the bottom of the 9th ended up becoming the Nelson Cruz, had he done it correctly, move, right? Which is props to Dave here, because Joe Washington put Nelson Cruz in right field in 2011, and that ended up costing him. Well, Dave Roberts puts Andy Pages to replace Edman at center 5 minutes before that pop-up went up there. And Pages ended up catching the ball, running over Kike. And the story with Kike on that play is people thought Kike got hurt, and because he was laying on the ground and just kind of had his head down on the ground. And as he had his head down on the ground, Pages goes, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, do you have the ball?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, let's go." So there was all this happened within like a 2 to 3 second moment, but it felt like it was 2-3 minutes, right? So Pages catches the ball, and what should have been the game, right? But it wasn't. And before then, it was probably the craziest play of probably the game, other than Rojas's home run, which was, again, made by Rojas. Rojas throws the ball on a short dribbler from Varsho and gets the man out at home by really an inch. It was an inch because Will Smith's foot came off the plate, and when it went back down, his foot was, I mean, it was like this, away from the plate. And I am so happy I am not a Toronto Blue Jays fan, because that would haunt me forever. I've seen some bad losses in my time as a Laker fan, a Steeler fan, a Dodger fan, obviously, but I don't think I've ever seen something that close. No one has been that close to winning a championship, in my view. An inch, a literal inch from winning a championship. And then, of course, the Pages catch, and then the inning was over. And then we go through a 10th inning where no one scored. And then Will Smith hits a home run. Will Smith hitting that home run, I wouldn't say I was comfortable yet, but I felt that the game might be done. I had a little bit of an inkling in that. I said, there's no way that this game is not the Dodgers at this point. Like, something crazy would have to happen, which, I was waiting for it, right? Like, are they really going to lose it now? And then you had Guerrero Jr. hit a double on what looked like, I think it was I can't tell if it was a four-seam in. I can't tell if it was a fastball in, but Guerrero got ahead of it. He was hitting amazing. I mean, he was just a beast. He could have been the World Series MVP, even on a loss. If they had said Guerrero Jr. was the MVP of this series, I wouldn't have argued, honestly. As much as Yamamoto obviously deserved it, I would have said, yeah, I don't doubt it, man. That guy was a freaking beast. And gets a hold of one there and gets a double. And then they make a major mistake in my view. And this is where things started to teeter into this is it. This is a bad move on their part. Bunting Guerrero to third and giving up an out. I thought that was a horrible, horrible decision. Horrible decision. Then they pitch around, I think it was Barger. And I'm thinking to myself, man, Schneider just put this team in a worse position, because now you have Alejandro Kirk, who can't run, playing against power. When you play against power, you start to see you get it. More often than not, you get ground balls, and Alejandro Kirk cannot run. So the count goes 0-2. As soon as Yamamoto got Kirk down 0-2, I said, now Yamamoto has him by the balls. All he needs is either a grounder or he's going to strike him out. That's how I felt at that moment. Alejandro gets a piece of something, breaks the bat, goes right up the middle, and Mookie goes Super Saiyan, steps on second, throws to first, and it was an absolute perfect strike from the angle he was at and the way he contorted his body, right to Freddie, and the Dodgers are world champions of 2025. And my God, what an absolute amazing evening of sports in general. It was the best Dodgers series in the end that existed. Saying it was the best from just a quality and me watching it, no, I can't lie about that. I was in hell. It was the worst series for me health-wise. I had never not watched the games like that. Like I usually watch games unless it's a blowout, like it was like a 30-point blowout with the Celtics in 06. I didn't watch the last quarter, but I had never not watched a game, a good chunk of games like that. But I really had to fix whatever was going on in my body, man. I was dying. I felt like I was dying, and my heart was constantly in stress to the point where, am I going to have a heart attack? Like, what the hell's wrong with me? I was pissed off at myself. So they win. I'm elated. I'm at my cousin's house. We're celebrating. We're having drinks, whatever. We're watching the post-game awards and all that stuff, interviews. And my body went into full reverse at that point. The dopamine took over whatever was killing me that whole week. And now it's settling in even more and more after the parade today and seeing what's going to be happening here soon on Thursday. Free agency starts on Thursday, and I'm already excited about seeing what the Dodgers are going to do to revamp this team. So, yeah, it was looking at it because of the results. If they had lost the series, it'd be a different result. But because when you win, it turns into a different setup. But then I'm also basing this off of what people have said. Some have said this is the greatest World Series they have seen. You can't really say it's the greatest World Series ever because there's just too many out there, right? We weren't around, at least I wasn't around paying attention before 1988. I wasn't. 88 was the first year where I was old enough when I was 10 years old and watching and understanding what's going on. So in my lifetime, I saw the most significant World Series in my lifetime, right? Which was 1988, because that was the first one, right? For the longest time, that was it. And then as far as just an observer, just being a fan of Major League Baseball, I mean, there's a few, man. I watched the 91 World Series. I watched the 97 World Series. I saw the 01 World Series. I saw the 2011 World Series, the 2016 World Series, 19 World Series. These are all 7-game series that kind of had their own little story of, man, I can't believe this happened. So when you look back at 1991, the Game 7 of that series, and all the other games were great too, by the way. Kirby Puckett, God rest his soul, he hit a walk-off in Game 6 against Liebrand. I think it was Liebrand with the Braves, and Charlie Liebrand, that's who it was. And it set up the Game 7, which Jack Morris of the Minnesota Twins and John Smoltz win on a donut versus donut all the way through 9 innings until Minnesota won, and a walk-off was basically a walk-off hit above the left left fielder, so then he could tag up and win, right? And they win 1-0. 97, you have the walk-off by the Florida Marlins against the Cleveland Indians, which that Cleveland Indians team, man, that especially between 95 and 97, man, those guys, you want to talk about offenses. My God, Albert Bell, Manny Ramirez, these guys were beasts. Look at the numbers during that time, and it'd be amazing if you had that kind of production now. The 2001 probably hits the most because there was so much at stake. You're looking at the New York Yankees and seeing a modern day dynasty do what it did. And you're like, man, it's 2-1 in the bottom of the 9th. And you've had walk-off after walk-off. Arizona comes back to Arizona. Game 6 blows the Yankees out. It's on the back stories of 9/11. Everybody's thinking this is New York's. They're going to win this because it's New York. It's 9/11, the whole thing. And then Mariano Rivera has a 2-1 lead going into the bottom of the 9th. And then things start to fall apart. And they end up losing on a walk-off by Luis Gonzalez, a dribbler right up the middle with the infield in. If the infield had not been in, right, I think Jeter probably gets that, right? And that's the crazy thing about baseball is you're right until you're not, and it's a beautiful game when you win. Just put it that way, and it's an ugly game when you don't. I mean, Toronto. I feel really, really bad for Toronto. I really do. The fans. I don't know Toronto fans that much. I know Sports Baby. I'm watching on my phone here. The Lakers just took over, guys. I mean, sorry to get out of the subject here, but the Nick Smith Jr. Absolutely player of the game tonight. If they can hold on to the 14-point lead with 2 minutes left, all they got to do is dribble the ball a little bit. Look, another miss. Laravia gets a rebound. Guys, LA sports is starting to get very interesting. Mark Walter wasn't even 24 hours in terms of getting out of Toronto, and he was already at the game yesterday, ready to probably start doing some business, right? So I am so excited about Mark Walter taking over the reins in LA for the Lakers, and of course seeing how his first team here, my team, actually, he's got more teams basically, right? Taking care of business, winning back-to-back championships, 3 in 6 years, and then now the Lakers are next. And we are, yeah, son, yeah, we're going to really sign Terry Rozier for a good one there. But going back to baseball again, going into these details about this series again, I to compare it to again the 01s and the 91s and the 97s and the 2011s with St. Louis and the Cubs Indians World Series of 16. I'm not going to go into those details. I think you guys are getting to my point at this point. When it's your team, that should do it. That should do it. Rui hits the jumper. Rui hits the mid-range. The Lakers rest Luka and Austin and basically half the team and still go into Portland and win. Props to the Lakers, man. Props to the boys here, man. We're going to be celebrating a little bit on LFB here after I'm done with the show. But let me get back to the Dodger talk, guys, again, and then we'll talk more about basketball later, and I'll get to your chats. So the Dodgers are back-to-back champions, and in their illustrious history, the Dodgers have really the second, probably, you can say St. Louis is there too. I think it's more of a tie with St. Louis, but LA's LA. It's kind of different too. I think LA has the second most significant baseball team in history. The Yankees being one and the Dodgers being two. How that changes by the time the end of the century will be determined then, right? I won't likely be here. Some of us won't be here, right? Some of you young guys, maybe, if you live long enough. But the New York Yankees won 25 of their championships in the 20th century. The Dodgers have won 3 championships, and the Yankees have won 2 in this century. And one of those was in 2000. It's basically at the edge of the 20th century. So the Yankees have won since 2000. They've won 1. Since that 2000 title, they've only won 1 in 2009. The Dodgers are 2 for 2 in the Shohei Ohtani era. And the Shohei Ohtani era is a significant one because Ohtani has deferred $680 million so that the Dodgers can continue to keep re-upping, redistributing, and reloading a championship team. If they end up winning, let's say, 6 championships in the Ohtani era in the next 8 years, in the next 8 years they win 4 more, you're now looking at a team that will have passed the St. Louis Cardinals in the National League with 11 championships, and they also have the second most in general. They'd be at 13 if that were to happen by what would be, let's say, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. So by 2033, should they win 4 more in the next 8 years, now the Dodgers are sitting at 13 championships, and it's 2033. So what happens in the next 57 years? I mean, I don't think Mark Walter and the Guggenheim's been around for a long time in general. Guggenheims were talked about in the movie Titanic. That's how far back they are, right? So do the Dodgers in the next 75 years own the 21st century and end up catching up to the Yankees? That'll be a question that one day when I'm sitting in heaven, maybe I can answer with St. Peter and maybe Jesus on the side. But it's relevant to what we're talking about now in terms of what's coming, right? I don't remember the 1956 Yankees. I don't remember the 27 Yankees other than what I've read. So that's that. That's where I'm at. Point of the story is the Dodgers are going to be the 21st century team. They're going to be what the Yankees were in the 20th century. The Dodgers are going to be that. How many championships they end up having in the next 75 years? I'm sure I'll be around for at least 30 to 40 years of it, maybe, hopefully, if I'm lucky. But I think the Dodgers are well on their way to being the Yankees of this century. Hell, let's start with this decade first, right? They already won 3. So as soon as they win 2 more in this decade, it's a seal at that point. Because no one else is going to be winning more than 5 in the same decade. Okay, let me get back to your comments, guys. Sorry, I usually pretty late with this. Let's see here. Dodgers are champs now. I will lead LAFC to a MLS. Hey, anything that adds more trophies to Mark Walter's trophy case is good with me. Joe, thoughts on Jaden Daniel getting injured, being down? Well, it's football, man. Every play can be an injury. Will the Dodgers re-sign Kike? Absolutely, they'll sign Kike. They're going to sign him to another one-year contract. How many drinks did you have after the game? Said I had a few, but guys, I'm not a drinker in celebratory like euphoria. I'll drink in celebration in general, but I don't need to add more spice to what was already a big high. Zen, good job there, Ralph. Let's see here. I had the privilege of watching Joe crash out at my girlfriend's uncle's house on Halloween. Yeah, I got loud over there, man. When Teo took that lousy at bat, I think it was in the 7th inning, I absolutely lost it. I was so pissed off. My Teo, bases loaded, just focus. But I'll get to the slugging part here in a minute as soon as I get through the comments here, because the slugging versus small ball really played a factor in this. Hey, Craig, how you doing, man? Joe F. Springer. So back to what I was saying before I lost my train of thought. I felt bad for all of Toronto, all their players, their coaching, their managing, everybody. And their fans, again, I'm not really close with their fans. I thought some of them were obnoxious. I think they thought they had won something already. So I think on that end, I was like, kind of lost a little respect on that. But again, there's always stupid fans in every, fan base. But George Springer, that piece of shit, that cheating piece of shit. And all they did, and even Joe Davis was doing this, and I know he's a company man. I know he's the head play-by-play guy. He's got to do this. But the fact that they kept talking about this guy being a playoff god, I'm like, did you guys forget what this asshole did? Did you forget what this asshole did? 3 years of his shit was from cheating. He has an MVP in his trophy case that belongs to Clayton Kershaw. And they have a trophy that belongs in Dodger Stadium. And what ended up happening in this series went as beautiful as I could have ever hoped for. Springer was in pain. Yamamoto kept just grazing him. He did hit him too. Good. Hit him, grazed him all series long. And all Springer did was shoot those pussy-ass singles. Couldn't do shit beyond that. And then the last at-bat. Actually, I want to get to Game 6 before that. He was on deck before that double play. And to have him sit there on deck having to watch that and know that he wasn't going to get an at-bat, that was a beautiful thing. And then the next game, last at-bat against the Dodgers was a strikeout. George Springer, I don't know if he's going to retire, but I don't think he's coming back to Toronto. Unless, of course, he plays for the minimum or really low numbers, right? So my satisfaction in terms of getting a little bit of that revenge from that Houston piece of shit debacle, we got a little bit of that. So I felt bad for the Toronto players, especially Guerrero Jr. He was Clemens. Clement, all those guys. Like they're good people, man. They deserve to win, and I thought they were going to win. But for God's sakes, please, George Springer, stop talking about this guy being a great player. He's a piece of shit. If he had any fucking balls, he would have said, "Here's this," even though it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have counted anyways. He should have had the decency to say this trophy belongs to Clayton Kershaw, because that trophy was taken away. And not only did he get screwed, not only did his legacy get a little tainted, because his legacy was always that he choked in the playoffs. Maybe that changes things in 17. Maybe that really changes it. Now, he had a little bit of redemption in 2000, a little bit of a small redemption in this year, and he was an integral part of the whole year. He won 11 games and went 11-2, actually, guys. He was very important to this run and earned it. He earned it this year versus how it played out last year. But imagine Clayton Kershaw as a 4-time champ with a World Series MVP. His argument as greatest left-hander ever becomes different now. It's not just Sandy Koufax, right? It's now Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw has a World Series MVP at that point. He has 4 titles. And who knows, maybe he pitches better in 2019 and 2021 and 2022. We don't know that. And we'll never know because of that cheating piece of shit and all those cheating assholes in Houston. Fuck Houston and fuck George Springer. You're right there, son. Good job on that one. Thoughts on Mattingly almost getting his first title? Well, I mean, he's just a bench coach, guys. That's like Danny Smith of the Pittsburgh Steelers winning a Super Bowl ring. Come on. Kendrick Lamar, gay-ass Drake. Yeah. I would say Kendrick Lamar over Drake, yes. Dodgers have a history of coming back down 3-2. Actually, they don't, Craig. They were 0-7 before this series, being down 3-2. I think you're thinking of the Lakers. The Lakers have come back from 3-2 in 1988, in 2010, in 2002 against the Sacramento Kings. The Lakers are known to come back from 3-2, not the Dodgers. The Dodgers won their first series ever in their history since 1884, where they were down 3-2. This is the first time they came back from that. On the road to boot, too. Props to Doc for changing the lineup and starting Miggy Rojas. Now I respect Doc as a coach. He no longer is a puppet. Yes, I agree with that one. How many shots did you take this total series, Joe? I took a few tequila shots. After Game 6 on Halloween, I took a couple shots of tequila. Joe, will you watch the World Baseball Classic? Yes, I will, son. Joe, is Ayton made out of glass? He wasn't tonight. It's pretty damn good tonight. Almost fouled out, but came through in the end there. I was in Laverne watching the game at a bar. All of the small town area went running on the streets after Mookie's dopa. Yeah, I went running around my cousin's house. It was the best. I actually jumped in the air and got a lot of compliments on my vertical. Dave Roberts didn't twerk. Yeah, thank God, because he looked absolutely horrendous doing that last year. Doc Roberts was like Dr. Strange by using Ross in 6 and 7 in pause and defense. It's like he saw the scenarios and found the way to. It's called instinct, bud. Rough. It's instinct. I talked about this with Empire Jeff and a few other people. It's your instincts. When you've tapped into this, whatever you're doing so well, your instincts will start telling you exactly what's going to happen, when, and how. And that's exactly what happened. And Dave Roberts, if there ever was an MVP for a manager in a playoff run, he would have definitely gotten it this year. How much was that hat, Joe? This one was last year's parade hat. I think I paid $35 for it. I'm waiting on the new stuff coming in. I'm gonna buy it off of Empire Jeff's Fanatic site so you can earn some cash. Joe, I want you and your friend who likes me to come watch me play in Western Conference Final. Well, I'll talk to Glendy and we'll see what we can do, brother. Joe, I've been going through a hard time in life, and watching Dodgers come back and win make me smile. I'm happy it felt good. Well, I thank you. You had the best comments for the night. How about that? Hey, guys. Oh, man. There you go. Thanks to everyone that joined. Yes, thank you, everyone, for joining us. The parade was fire. Yeah, parade actually was better than even last year, at least on TV. So always get better, baby. Always get better. Smith just hit 2 3-pointers in a row. So Nick Smith Jr., a two-way player on the Lakers. This team is starting to create an identity, and I'm gonna talk more about that when I get on the Gerald show here after this. I was able to watch. If you guys saw me kind of veering off this way, I had the game here going on, and every time you felt like Portland might have gone on a run, Nick Smith came in and shattered their dreams, and the team as well. They were making baskets at the rim. The team absolutely, impressed the hell out of me tonight. Even more so than yesterday, believe it or not. Going into Portland and winning with no one of significance in terms of name recognition. That's the identity builder, guys. The Lakers are starting to look interesting right now, man, and I'm very happy. I am so happy right now. I cannot wait to start getting excited about Laker basketball again. What a way to watch your baseball team. I watched all 162, all spring training games, all the playoff games. And for the Dodgers, even the ones that I missed in Game 6 and 7, I went back and watched the replays of those, so I was able to watch the whole games. I had missed one damn game all year for the Dodgers, and they ended up repaying me with another championship. And now the Lakers are sitting down Luka, LeBron, and Reeves, and still whooping Portland in Portland. How about that? When the hell does that happen? Kobe never even hardly won in Portland when he was there. So props to the Lakers. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's see a parade there. Lakers should sign Trey. I already said that. It was good seeing Kershaw happy and hug his family after the win. He deserved another ring, but it's Kershaw, legend. Will have his jersey retired likely next year at Dodger Stadium, and he'll have a statue probably in the next few years, if not earlier, and then he'll be on Hall of Fame in 2031 when he's eligible. Drip Show, what's up, bud? So, guys, I don't know if you guys can see. Drip Show is going to be one of my sponsors here. Drip Show created the background that you see there. So, in case you guys are confused on what this is, I did a little bit of a paraphrase on this quote, but it's almost pretty much exactly what it is. So, last year when Mookie Betts was interviewed at the Major League Baseball Awards show, one of the MCs was asked him a really good question, very kind of out of the blue question. He's like, Mookie, you just won your third championship. What do you got to say to everyone about, kind of like what's up with the Dodgers and what's going to happen here? He goes, and Mookie said, y'all just going to have to wait 7 years. So I switched it up a little bit and said, y'all are still going to have to wait. And Empire Jeff and I have this thing where anytime Mookie does a play, we always say Mookie effing Betts. And again, thank you again, Drip Show, for the logos and for the amazing background. And just to give you guys a heads up on another gift that my boy Chris got me, Drip Show, aka Drip Show. So this is made out of wood, by the way, guys. This is from the Game 4 Milwaukee Brewers closeout game in Dodger Stadium where Ohtani pitched 6 innings plus and hit 3 home runs. I also have Ohtani there. And it's an understatement. It is an understatement. And the pictures through the podcast don't do the artwork justice. These are works of art. These are things that are going to go to a wall. The only reason why I don't have them on a wall right now is because I'm designing this room eventually. And Drip Show is extremely talented. If you guys want any of his gear, it doesn't matter what it is, go ahead and go on TikTok, go on Instagram, and click in Drip Show, contact Chris, and he will take care of you, and he will take care of you very, very well with anything you want. He is amazing. See, that's how bad the Blazers are. Let's see, where are we here? Was watching the playback. Yeah, so they said they didn't need Ohtani. That was probably the part where I started getting a little. I kept thinking after that game 1 when they were saying that, I go, this is going to come back to get you. And the fact that they busted them in their own house both times in the end there to win it while they were at the cusp, it was that much sweeter. You do need Ohtani, guys. And the only reason why Ohtani didn't go to Toronto was the reason why you saw what happened last night. So stick that in your maple syrup and sniff it, drink it, eat it, do whatever it is that you want. Yes, they did need him. Hey, Vladdy, Blue Jays lose, Blue Jays lose. That's messed up, Johnny. Come on, man. Vladdy was crying, man. He's a good dude. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, do whatever you want. Toronto celebrating with the lead and not the trophy will never not be fun to me. Yeah, it's true. Be careful, guys. Humble yourselves. Hey, Ox, mate. Great to see you. Jeremy, you are the man, baby. Thank you for being here today. Rams, bro, LA. Oh, I know who that is. That's cool, bro. This team had the best player and the best big game pitcher in the league. So, Jay White, 2 seasons ago, they signed 2 players, Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, for $1 billion, $35 million. Oh, I'm sorry, $25 million. $1 billion, $25 million. Do I have to say that again? $1,025,000,000. And since then, the Dodgers have won 2 World Series. And not only that, each one of those guys has won a series MVP. Each one of those guys played integral parts in everything. Even when Shohei was not hitting well, he still was a problem. They were still walking him. He was still doing things where it affected the game to where the Dodgers were getting a run or whatever, right? So in 2 years, dropping a bill on 2 guys has produced 2 championships and legends, Dodger legends in just 2 seasons. Mind you, Yamamoto signed for 10 more years. Shohei signed for 8 more years. There's going to be a lot more of this. And an even funnier stat line, had it been a qualification, if they had an MVP in the NLDS this year, Roki Sasaki would have won the MVP in that series. So there was, even though there's not an official award, every Japanese player they had this year was the MVP of a series. That is a phenomenal, phenomenal statistic. Absolutely phenomenal. Roki Sasaki would have won an MVP had they qualified for one in the NLDS. Not qualifying doesn't matter. He was still the MVP of that series. And then you had Shohei, the MVP of the NLCS, and then Yamamoto, the MVP of the World Series. What an investment into Japan. What an investment to what will be future Hall of Famers. And I'm looking for more, and I can't wait. Johnny 2K, man, I hadn't seen you in a while, man. Good to see you. I'm happy for it. Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate that, brother. Springer got what he deserved. Yeah, fuck Springer. That's all I know him as. That's his first name to me. F. Springer. Joe, did you see any changes coming in the offseason besides the bullpen? Bullpen, I'm gonna. The bullpen has to be. I don't know what they're going to do with the bullpen. I'm not worried too much about it. I think they'll figure that out. And I don't think Tanner Scott's going to have a bad year again next year. When it comes to bullpen guys, this isn't out of the norm. Sometimes guys have bad years. And I think Tanner Scott might have had something going on in his life that distracted him. And I'm hoping everything is okay. It's not anything catastrophic. We'll find that out probably right around. I mean, free agency starts Thursday, but you know how it is in Major League Baseball with roster spots and all that. So things will start to cook probably around January, February when roster spots start to open up a little bit. What I do know for sure is the Dodgers are going to have to get a little younger because you got to look at guys like Freddie. Freddie's long in the tooth. He's got 2 years left on his contract. Mookie Betts looked like he taxed himself a lot this year, playing as well as he did at shortstop. Starting the year with that stomach bug or whatever he had kind of threw him off, and then he kind of got back towards the end there, but then lost juice in the playoffs. I don't know what needs to be done there. I think they may need to start maybe managing his. I was going to say managing his minutes, managing his games a little bit more. Muncie's going to be on a team option pickup for $10 million. I'm pretty confident that the Dodgers are going to bring him back at that number. But and of course, Kike and Rojas will finish their careers as Dodgers. I don't know what they're going to do with Teo. Do they trade Teo and get younger? Pages, I think, will likely be back unless they trade him for something really, really good. I don't know. There's no word that they're going to trade him, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. Will Smith, that'll be interesting how that plays out. I think what they did this year with him for every 6 games a week that they're playing, he was off for 2 games a week. I think that ended up working in the end. They also got a little bit of luck, and I know this sounds funny, but when he ended up hurting his hand, having that little hairline fracture, he actually was able to sit for almost a month, and I think that gave him enough juice to finish the playoffs. So maybe that's a lesson to kind of roll with towards the end of next year. Maybe have Will Smith only catching 2 games a week instead of 4 games a week, just to make sure he's ready for the playoffs, because Will Smith is one of the most clutch catchers I've ever seen in baseball, and that's the truth. Tucker to the Dodgers. Okay. Here's my thing on Kyle Tucker. Yes, would love Kyle Tucker, but not for $400 million. Not for a guy that can go that cold hitting. He went cold too many times. And I know that might be different with the Dodgers, but I don't know about 400 million. I'd rather go if you're gonna try to go find someone that could play and is a little bit younger. I at this point I'd rather spend 140 mil on bringing back Belly. At that point, Belly's fixed his swing a little bit, much better than towards the end of his Dodger career, and his defense is amazing. Putting him in center field would be great. Plus, you can move him to first base when you want to rest Freddie. So that could be a double type thing, and then use Paez as the guy going to center as well. So there is that. There is that. Because I think some of the major guys that are going to be coming up in a couple of years still need a couple more years in the farm system. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's a 0 ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to get in with everyone's eyes closed. Should the Dodgers trade for Paul Skeens next year? I mean, if the Pirates want to do it, I think there's a shot, but I don't know if that's going to happen next year unless Paul demands it. Let's see here, Joey. What was the greatest individual performance of the playoffs? For me, the greatest performance was Yamamoto pitching in the World Series. I know that Shohei doing what he did in terms of singular performance, in terms of the statistical individual type stuff. Yeah, obviously there's two that stand out. The game where he pitched to clinch the national pennant, where he pitched for 6 innings and hit 3 homers, and then the 9 on base game in Game 3. But Yamamoto's performance won them the championship, and it was unprecedented winning. So when you look at the most recent one that was like this, was Madison Bumgarner when the San Francisco Giants won the World Series in 2014. Madison Bumgarner won Game 1, won Game 5, and then had to come in and pitch the last 5 innings in Game 7. But he had a break between Game 5 and Game 7, right? But he had that kind of performance where he pitched 3 times and they won all 3 games, and it was a 7-game series, and they won the 7th game. The Giants did. That was the best pitching performance I had seen up until then, at least in terms of how important that one pitcher was to win a championship. Yamamoto didn't get a break. He pitched Game 2 in a hostile environment, and if they had lost Game 2, they would have lost the World Series, right? On the road. All the momentum was in Toronto. Completely stymied them, right? The second in as many games finished 9 innings, which is unprecedented in today's baseball, in the playoffs, in the World Series. Then he stops the bleeding in Game 6, and he was going to pitch. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here real quick. He was going to pitch Game 3 after Game 2. He was getting ready. So there was a chance you could have probably seen, if Klein hadn't done what he did, there was a chance that you could have saw Yamamoto win back-to-back games twice. Imagine that. But anyways, fast forward, pitches Game 6, then comes into Game 7, pitches 2 2/3, and puts the lock on the MVP for the World Series and becomes a legend in LA in just 2 short seasons. If he doesn't pitch a game the rest of his career, he is a Dodger legend and has every right to have a statue outside of Dodger Stadium just in 2 years. That's how significant Yamamoto has been in these 2 playoff runs, and especially this one. So let's see here. Actually, never mind, because you guys are talking. Joe, do you like tortas? Not the food. I prefer the what's a good comparison to that? I prefer the hourglasses. We won on Fernando's birthday, I believe. I think that was what Saturday was, right? Let's see here. Joe, you should do a live show sometime at a bar. Oh, don't worry. I got plans for a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to clear my schedule a little bit. Every time I think I'm going to start something, I don't have time to do it, right? Can Drip Show make a sun portrait? Yes, he can do anything you need, son. Hit him up. Drip Show on Instagram. Just put Drip Show in the search and ask him for what you need. Everything's packaged beautifully and protected and everything. He's great. Dodgers are going to a lot of championship merch in Japan. Oh man, they practically own Japan at this point. Vladdy Guerrero better than Vladdy Jr. At this moment, yeah, but his boy is starting to climb up. Joe, were you in Fear Factor back in the day? No, I was not. I would never do Fear Factor. Thanks for love and support, Joe. Hey, Drip, thank you for everything. Joe, what did Yama say? Losing was not an option. That was the best speech of the beyond the best speech of the parade. I did not see that coming. And the reason why Yamamoto speaks better English than Shohei is Yamamoto's taking classes, and then he comes back to the clubhouse in games and he starts to converse with the players. So he spoke better English because he's actually taking classes. I don't think Shohei has at least any time to do that. Shohei lives a completely different life than Yoshinobu Yamamoto, man. But they both speak English enough to where they can converse with their boys. So that's good. Let's see. Dustin May's probably punching the air. Well, and he's not punching the air. He's still getting a ring. Anybody that played for the Dodgers this year is getting a ring. So you look at Dustin May's going to get a ring. Outman's going to get a ring. Who else did they trade? That was, I think those are the two main ones. Robleski intentionally hit the Blue Jays player. He was a boss telling them, that whole thing was hilarious. He's trying to move his hand to get hit, and then when he does get hit, he starts getting pissed. It's like, dude, make up your mind, man. Stop being a bitch. Joe, what did Heyman said? What do you say is really hit the gamesmanship? Fuck. It was, girl. It's a man's sport. If you can't handle a little bit of rub, then you should go sell tortas on the corner. What did these results say about baseball culture in Japan? Well, when you win, results are always good in Japan. They're very about winning. What are they brewing out there? I don't know, sushi. Ohtani can't go anywhere in LA. Yeah, he's too famous. Congrats on Kirk on being the first Mexican to hit a home run, 5'7" guinea pig. Yeah, that's a pretty good description of him. We were calling him Turkey during the World Series, but I tried not to be too insulting for Alejandro Kirk. I'm sure he's heard every insult out there, and most of these people that are insulting him can't hit jack shit, and he's a Major League Baseball player and a damn good one too. So felt bad that he was the last out. I would have preferred George Springer to be the last out, but in the end, it became what it became. The Dodgers are the world champions, and I want to thank you all for being here, listening to the show this morning, this afternoon, and this evening. I will probably have a show later this week when free agency starts, maybe on the weekend. I don't know yet. I'll let you know. We'll talk more about kind of what's next, what's the future, what they need, how this thing's going to play out, how the money's going to work. Maybe talk a little bit about the possible lockout that's going to be coming up in a couple years based off what the Dodgers do this year. But we're going to be full throttle on the three-peat. I think the boys at the parade today talked about that a lot. And I'll end this on what I was supposed to end it on. The Dodgers won the World Series because they slugged. So all those people that were infatuated by the Toronto Blue Jays hitting what seemed like never-ending hitting. Well, guys, you gotta view in this series on why when you don't prioritize slug, you end up losing most of the time. And that's exactly what happened to Toronto. They played that game, and they ended up losing while the Dodgers hit a solo home run in the 8th, a solo home run in the 9th, and a solo home run in the 11th to win their 9th World's Championship. And on that, thank you all for being here. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, and have a good night. And until next time, I'll see you next time.